My name is Matt Schultz.
And this is How to Be,
the podcast where we discuss ancient wisdom, modern hacks, paperback self-help books, and pithy platitudes.
in the hopes of figuring out the best way to live this one precious and wild life.
As you go through life, do you trust your gut? Rely on the little voice in the back of your head? Prefer to follow your heart? If so, join us as we discuss intuition.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Rory.
Oh my gosh. Sam did something last night that annoyed me so badly. Like I can still feel the annoyance running through my body.
And what might that have been?
He just made such a meal out of a sneeze.
Wait, what do you mean making? That sounds gross.
Oh, he just put his whole body into it. The noise. The sneeze. He was laying on the couch. He sneezed. His leg flew up in the air twice because it was just, the sneeze just overcame him.
Are you saying that after 14 years together, he can't sneeze you want him to suppress his sneeze in your presence?
Sneeze like what a sneeze is, a tickle in your nose. What are you being attacked by a spirit because you have to release the tickle in your nose?
A man sneeze.
Oh, I am still reeling from it.
A man sneeze is bigger than a woman's sneeze.
It's unbelievable. It's like,
look at that little nose you have. What do you know about a sneeze?
Okay. All I have to say is that you go, tch, tch.
Haven't you ever heard that a sneeze is the speed of a hurricane?
You know what? That's funny because I was thinking about your sneeze attacks on the phone, which are also incredibly dramatic. And you know what you kind of sound like? You sound like a hysterical woman in an old-fashioned film being attacked by the wind.
That's what a sneeze is. You're being attacked from the wind, by the wind from within. The wind within.
It's unbelievable. I'm still really your leg needed to fly up in the air.
He wanted to cut loose.
No, thank you. Mm-mm.
You're suppressing so much else in that household.
No, we are not. And also, he's the number one suppressor. So
you're not burping in front of each other.
But Sam is the real.
You're not doing the other thing. I can't even say it to you.
Mm-mm. No, we're very modest people, and that's really Sam's lead on that, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So why not throw the sneeze in there too? A nice Victorian sneeze.
I would love to know the evolving social mores around the sneeze.
Me too.
I mean, obviously there's the bless you.
Yeah, of course.
Contingency. It's the only thing that a body does that we have a little word for that we say when it happens.
I know, and I really wish there was something for a cough because sometimes a cough can really silence a room.
Well, a cough is uncomfortable. It's impolite to draw attention to someone's cough, whereas it's impolite to not acknowledge someone's sneeze, which is very strange because they can both be signs of illness. But a cough, I would imagine this in the old world, a cough was a little bit more of a sign of you're going to die.
Well, didn't the bless you start from, is this a fact we all know?
Yeah, like you're gonna die. You're sick, so you need to be blessed.
Oh no, it might be apocryphal, but I think it started because they found out really early on that when you sneeze, your heart stops. And so it was a final blessing in case it never came back.
They found that out. Is that true?
Like your heart, everything stops, right?
I'm giving that some side eye.
Well, that's why I said I'm not really sure if it's true, but that's an origin story of the bless you.
I've heard that, and I don't believe this, that it's because your soul is escaping out of your nose and you have to bless it, and blessing it sends it back in.
Did you just make that up or did you really hear that?
I've really heard that. I need to turn this air conditioner a little bit. It's cold.
It also
Can I show you something?
I know that it does come from the plague too, as well. Because everyone was like, when the plague happened, suddenly not just priests were allowed to give last rites. Everyone could give anyone last rites.
Oh, everyone was deputized
to
do that.
Yeah.
You know, they're always giving each other last rites casually in Outlander. Can I show you something?
Yeah.
This is very exciting, okay? Hold on, let me grab it.
Are you about to do a backflip? Let me show you my backflip.
I'm about to wow you. I'm about to wow you with my follow through.
Your paint by numbers. Oh, I forgot to do that.
I am holding up to the camera 2 jars of rice, one that says love, ahava. I did English and Hebrew, and one that says hate, sinah. And it's plain white rice in 2 clean new jars. And
with water in them?
It's cooked rice, and then I poured water in on top, which was what I was told to do.
Okay.
By the internet. And I'm going to spend the next few months telling this jar how much I love it, because I do. I love you. I love you so much. And I'm going to tell this jar. Now, that's easy for me to say because I do love rice.
You love rice.
I love rice, but I'm a little
in love with your rice. I'm a little in love with this jar of rice.
No, I'm just saying, like, how am I going to work up the hatred for this rice? I hate you.
Well, apparently you I think in the episode said it's just the words. There doesn't need to even be feeling behind it.
Yeah, I hate you, Hitler. Hitler rice.
I can't wait to see what happens.
And some people I've seen on the internet also have a 3rd jar.
That is just neglected.
A control jar. Yeah. And what it said was love protects, hate destroys, and neglect fails to protect. So, like, the neglect, like, it just became subject to rot.
Okay, so what's your hypothesis? Are you, now that you've actually put rice in jars and written hate and love on tape on them, what do you think will happen?
I think the hate one will rot hideously.
Oh my God.
And the love one will last forever.
Will you eat the loved one in the end?
No, that I don't know. That's a good question. Then what do you do with it? You keep saying it. You see how long you can keep it going. I love you. Just keep loving it, blessing it. It's like an adoration in Catholicism, an adoration.
Yeah, maybe it'll start crying blood tears and take the shape of Mother Teresa.
What do you think will happen?
I think that they will both rot at different paces that is completely devoid of connection to what piece of tape is written on them.
Yeah, let's just say I'm not going to call it I don't want any edge cases here. I want it, if I'm going to believe in this, I want it to be quite clear. I don't want it to be like, ooh, the mold in the loved one is a little less gnarly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, like, maybe you're saying love to the mold and the mold is thriving.
No, you're not. No, no. Mold doesn't speak English either. It's crazy. I know. Or Hebrew.
So we'll see. Apparently, it takes months. So get ready to hear check-ins on this for the foreseeable future.
It takes months for rice to rot? Wet rice?
When you're blessing it to prevent it from rotting.
Okay.
I hate you. Sorry, I'm just telling the one I hate how much I hate it.
You can't tell the one you hate that you hate it more than you tell the one you love that you love it more.
I love you. You're my guy.
Okay, well, I guess we're speaking to both of our intuitions today.
Yeah, we're talking. Yeah, we have different intuitions about how this is gonna play out. But you need to get moving on this.
Oh, you want me to do it too? Yeah, I should do it too. I said I would. I'll do it today.
You need to like do some method acting. I know you're not a believer, but you need to actually love the rice and hate the rice.
See, I can already see where this is going if the results are different between our two. You're gonna be like, you weren't committed enough. You didn't manifest the rice staying alive hard enough.
No. If it works, it should work. It's like what we said about manifesting. If what it takes for it to work is a Buddha level of enlightenment and a complete perfect faith in what you're manifesting, then it might as well not work, because
exactly.
But if we figure this out, this will be good during the water wars to keep water safe, to keep our food safe. Just like, you have someone in the pantry always blessing the food.
Right, exactly. Pause, people. Matt's taking the longest chug of water in the world. Speaking of this, speaking of water and the way he chugs. Today we're talking about intuition. What do you think of when you think of intuition?
A preternatural knowing.
Yeah.
That comes in before the conscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes overriding the conscious mind, sometimes overridden by the conscious mind. Okay, the other day I was walking to this plant store where I know they have good deals. But there is all this construction, and I had to walk in this narrow alley with like a construction fence on one side, and I got the willies. And I was like, I'm going to walk around. So I start walking around from the other direction, which is a really long way. And after walking a few steps in that way, I'm like, wait, why was I scared to walk down that alley? There was nothing scary about it. Conscious mind couldn't figure out what was scary. So I went back, got in there again.
You were like a little fork in the road. You were doing a sliding Frasers, the sliding doors.
Sliding Fraser. Yeah, it's like, what? Wait, what? I got scared of walking down that direction to the store that I'm going to. That doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So then I went back. Intuition picked right up again. I was like, I cannot be here. Willies. And I fled.
I wish we could ever find out. That's the problem with intuition, is like a lot of times you don't know if it was right or not because it isn't a sliding doors movie where you get to see both outcomes.
I don't necessarily think it was right or wrong. Like, I didn't interpret it as something bad will happen if I go down this way. I more interpreted it as there are signs of danger that my primal brain is picking up on, that my conscious brain is not trained to look for.
Okay.
Because it has a presumption of safety.
Okay, so it wouldn't have mattered. So if you had gone through, nothing bad would have happened. But you just didn't want to.
Yeah, there were signs of unsafety. Maybe something bad would have happened. Maybe I would have run into some bad characters.
See, that's
but
what
who knows?
I want to see.
I don't think it was
movie.
psychic.
I want to see that movie is what I mean.
Yeah.
Of where you go down the alley and a piano falls on you or something, or a rat king comes out.
There was definitely a rat king, but do you hear what I'm saying? I'm saying, like, I don't think it was a psychic prediction. Like, I think that if you were to, I'm trying to think of like an example, like the intuition was correct that it was like bad vibes in there, you know, a place where normal people wouldn't tread.
Well, I guess that's the question. Is intuition correct just because, like, the alley was scary?
So, yeah, I think this is like there are like two ways we talk about intuition. They're very different. One is like, what are you picking up on in your gut? And based on like signs, just signs that your gut is reading. And the other one treats it almost like it's like that plus a little psychic element.
Yeah.
Like you can tell this man is going to murder you.
Absolutely. So the first one that you're talking about, one where it's just like a gut feeling that doesn't have to do with like consciousness or logic, let's say. It's your brain is assembling something. It's like a knowledge on a deeper level, let's say, a primordial level.
Yes.
But that isn't always right by any means.
When would it be? When is it wrong, in your opinion? Like when it's like about a person being sketchy or dangerous?
Yeah, that's an example. Or like for me, I get this very like visceral anxiety about flying. And it's like, yeah, of course, like my deeper self is like, this isn't normal or natural.
Yeah.
To be in a little tin can in the air. Or like you know, a situation. I mean, there's so many situations where your intuition can be just off, like, and it's because of all of these reasons within ourselves, where logic actually is the right mode to take.
See, I don't know if I think of it as like intuition being right or wrong. Like the other day, so I live in kind of a neighborhood where weird things happen a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of homelessness and drug addicts. So I was walking down the street early in the morning. I was the only one on the street, and this guy was coming towards me, and he was talking to himself and moving erratically. So I intuited danger, and I started giving him a wide berth. And then he saw me do that, and he didn't like it, and he started chasing me.
Oh my God.
I know. He gave up pretty quickly, but I had to run. I was like running. So I don't think it's that my intuition was right. I think it's that I think my intuition was correct that someone acting erratically in the street is more likely to mess with you than someone who's not acting erratically in the street. And
See,
then
whether
but like whether or not he actually started chasing me or didn't doesn't mean my intuition was right or wrong. I think we're working on the intuition is like a big picture thing. It's like, ooh, this kind of situation is risky.
Okay. I guess like I'm looking at it through the lens of decision making, which you don't necessarily have to do at all.
I gave him a wide berth.
That's true. But was that I feel like that's almost logical because he's just like acting insane, like versus a man walking down the street where there's no visible signs of him being insane, but you intuit, oh God, I feel like something bad's going to happen.
Yeah. So then there's that other type of thing that we call intuition where like maybe you're like, I have a feeling that this plane's going to crash.
Yes.
And it's not based on like you saw the mechanic visibly drunk and like pieces falling. Like there's no, but you have a strong tummy located sense something's going to happen.
Right.
And that we treat like a little bit psychic. And it's like, yeah, we're often wrong about that. And then when we're right, we're like, the gut knows.
Well, yeah, it's like it's like confirmation bias. You know what I mean? Like, obviously.
Yeah, we don't, when it's right, we tell that story for years and years and years.
Whereas, how many times have I thought a plane's going to go down and it's never gone down? I'm never telling that story.
Exactly.
And I thought the plane would crash, but it didn't.
But it's a terrible story.
I know some people who would tell that story because they're bad at telling.
Yeah, definitely some people. That's like in 30 Rock. I love this is one of my favorite 30 Rock jokes. I don't think we ever talk about it though. Kenneth is like, and I saw a man on the subway who only had 3 fingers, but then I realized he was just holding his hand like this. And it's like, there is an impulse to tell that kind of story sometimes. Even though it's a terrible story.
At least it's a short story, you know, a long, bad story.
Yeah.
I need to send these people to storytelling class. But here's the thing also, though, about storytelling. It's people who go to storytelling classes, like Glenn Washington on Snap Judgment, the worst storyteller in the world, actually.
Yeah, we hate Glenn Washington.
The present tense. Stop telling stories in present tense, people. It's weird.
Oh, you don't think it adds a little urgency?
That's Frasier. That's a Frasier reference he's making. Writing in present tense as urgency story.
It's a constructive comment Frasier makes.
Okay. So I was doing a little intuition research.
Mm-hmm.
And the research is conflicting. So some of the studies I read, like on Psychology Today, were talking about how they would show, test subjects images of people, and the people were able to discern from the images if a person was gay or not, sexual orientation, let's say, better if they were their conscious mind was distracted than if they were paying closer attention to it and then asked to write out all the reasons why they thought this person was gay or straight.
Interesting. The knowledge at a glance.
Yes. But then there's also this confidence we have in our intuition that actually makes our intuition worse. Like the more you believe you're an intuitive person at times, or the more you are attached to an intuitive decision, let's say, actually instead, that's more accurate. The less likely that decision is to be true.
What does it mean for a decision to be true?
Okay, so for example, like if you were an economist predicting stocks.
Mm-hmm. And you got an intuition.
Yeah.
To sell.
Sell Pfizer.
I'm such an intuitive person. I gotta trust my intuition.
Yes. And then there are just certain jobs that lend themselves to intuition better because they are more obvious patterns. So a firefighter can assess a fire really quickly on an intuitive level because there's physics behind it, versus, for an example, an economist where there's just way too many factors to almost be able to assess a situation so quickly from that unconscious level.
Yeah, like our brain is always doing this seeking patterns and making predictions.
Mm-hmm.
And in things like a fire that will be useful, and in things that are so complex like the market, it will just be an illusion.
Exactly. That's what some of the research says, which I think makes a lot of sense, obviously.
Yeah, that does make sense. Now, there's also this like vision of intuition that's not about right and wrong, but it's just about like, do you want to go to law school or not? Like,
yeah, and
and
that's where
this school of thought of people who like want to like make decisions from that place. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's the thing I struggle with the most, especially because I'm kind of a spiritual person and am very keyed into the sort of the occult spiritual community, but I'm also a person with anxiety. So my entire life, I've been trying to ask spiritual teachers and doing research. What's the difference? How do I know if it's intuition or anxiety? This is a fixation I have.
Oh my God, let me tell you something and let me see if your reaction to it is what my reaction to it was.
Did I show
I
you
was
my
talking to someone about like an ayahuasca ceremony
Uh-huh.
and like what you experience. And they said that like, you after like about an hour, you start to like see some colors and feel different temperatures. And then like a spirit guide will come and deliver you a message.
Mm.
I thought that was so terrifying.
A spirit guide.
Telling me a message.
Well, there's no way that like you have to take that advice. That's what I would feel.
I would be like, I would put such a premium on whatever the spirit guide said.
That's what I'm saying. Like you have to believe the spirit guide.
Yeah,
And what if it's something you don't want to believe? What if it's like your biggest especially because we are scared of what we believe, you and I.
yeah, we have fears about what we believe. Does that make sense? If you get it, you get it. And yeah, it's just the terror, and then it's like if someone comes in, a spirit guide who has some privileged information from the heavens.
Yeah, absolutely not doing ayahuasca. Absolutely do not want a conflicting message from the great beyond. Thanks.
Yeah, save it.
I can't believe there are people in the world who want a message from a direct message from a spirit guide, and that doesn't cause them anxiety because they have such a belief that in the spiritual world, this spirit guide's going to come to them and say, "It's all love, baby," or "Let go, baby," something really positive that we would value in our current gross modern world. Whereas you and I do not have that illusion.
Honor your fans. Take better care
of your
fans. That's another Frasier joke. Let's take this moment to plug that there will be a Frasier reboot soon.
Yes, there sure will be. And we will be doing bonus episodes recapping the Frasier reboot. So everyone sign up for Paramount Plus immediately because that's where it's going to be streaming.
Now, I don't know if everyone here in the room with us knows we watch a lot of Frasier. I've watched all 11 seasons of Frasier once a year, every year for the past decade and a half. That's insane. That makes me sound like an insane person.
Well, I think I've watched it more, so.
More than once a year? The full 11?
I love doing a full 11.
A season a month with a month off?
No way. Don't do a month off.
No way. It's 11 seasons in 8 days.
Actually, I want to talk about Frasier and intuition.
Okay,
because I was also researching do you know Daniel Kahneman.
Oh yeah, Thinking Fast and Slow.
Thinking Fast and Slow. So he writes a lot about intuition. So I
Mm-hmm.
listened to an interview with him, and the host was like, I heard someone say that you make decisions by flipping a coin. And he was like, I never make decisions by flipping a coin, but there is the value of assessing your emotional state by flipping a coin, which is a famous Frasier scene that I often hearken back to when I'm making a difficult decision. Where Frasier, one of the many times he's deciding between two women's, and Niles, his brother, says, let's flip a coin. Heads, it's Faye. Tails, it's Cassandra. And Niles flips the coin, and then he goes, admit it, Frasier. You wanted to say one more than the other.
Yes, Cassandra. Right?
I think it's Faye. And then he goes to break up with Cassandra. And she's dating Slade or Sloane.
Sloane. I hate Cassandra. Would have been a very easy choice for me to make because her wiles didn't work on me.
Well, also Faye is Jewish.
Yes, she's a great Jewish character.
Cassandra's very Christian looking.
She's kind of a Samantha. Hi, boys. I'm Samantha.
Okay. But anyway, back to the point. The coin flip.
The coin flip, it reveals to you your desire, which perhaps you couldn't cop to or admit to. I mean, do we like when we're making tough decisions? Sometimes I feel like I really, really, really don't know what I want. Like this was a decision that I agonized over. After college, moved to Israel or moved to Chicago.
Oh, right.
I agonized. Eventually, I moved to New York because I couldn't make the decision. And I did flip a coin, and it landed on its side.
But that's great. That is kind of crazy. That's a weird spiritual sign.
Yeah, the spirits
Someone
were
like me would take that as a spiritual sign.
the spirits were like, if you're going to get a message from us, you actually have to pay $9.99 a month. We're not giving out free messages. You have to pay for the ayahuasca to get a message. But yeah,
what
it
you
could have
want
been
the coin to say?
I don't know. I think maybe that's what I wanted it to say.
Yeah. A secret third thing.
A secret third thing. And I was in New York at the time, pointing right down towards the ground.
Well, I was really agonizing over a job offer recently.
Mm-hmm.
As Matt will remember from season 35 of my life, episode 21. I was really agonizing over a job, but really in the end, in hindsight, which may or may not be accurate, I was never going to take the job. Like in my gut, it was not a job that I wanted by any means, but I absolutely had to get my logical side on board with it. And I had to get everyone whose opinion mattered to me on board with it too.
Yeah, sometimes we just want that synthesis.
Essentially what I did was try to explain to everyone how terrible this job would be.
Yeah, you went on a disinformation campaign.
I went on a smear campaign against this job.
A media blitz.
Which in all fairness was not hard to do. It was not a job I wanted, so it was really easy to point out why I didn't want it on a logical level. But really it was an intuitive decision. Like when I was thinking about working at this place, I was like filled with misery.
Yeah, there you go.
Are you excited? Are you filled with misery? Or are you excited to give a little pep in your step?
Well, I am listening to an audiobook right now.
I'm listening
to an audiobook about the philosopher Hegel.
Heard of him.
So also I'm on this kick right now of trying to have better mental health. I'm like really investing in it. So I've deleted all apps for my phone, including podcasts. I'm like, no, I can listen to enriching books.
Oh man, is this really what's going to be better mental health for you?
Yes, I can't be listening to all these podcasts, all this noise, culture wars, politics, the
Oh yeah,
past, the future, debates. No,
I
it's
see.
bad for me. It's noise. Yeah. So, um, because I was listening to very fiery political podcasts. Anywho, Hegel says that we are not actually free because our emotions can be so manipulated. And you have to get to this like purely rational state behind your emotions.
Oh, 100%. It's not even just our emotions that manipulate us. It's like every situation we're in. And speaking to that, these studies I was reading about, many findings highlight the unconscious processing built into moral judgment. Often we base opinions on things we'd never factor into a deliberate decision. In one study, participants' approval of sex between cousins depended on whether someone had secretly deployed fart spray nearby. Visceral repulsion led to moral repulsion. In another study, participants were asked whether it was okay to push a large man off a footbridge to block a trolley from killing 5 other people. If they just watch a clip from Saturday Night Live versus a documentary, their mood was more positive and they were 4 times more likely to approve.
Yeah, that is insane, but also makes a lot of sense. I've definitely had an experience where I'm walking and I'm thinking about something, and then I walk through a really bad smell, and it becomes knit up with what or who I'm thinking of, and I become repulsed by that person.
Yeah, smell is really
Not in a lasting way, but
sure at the time. But I think that goes to what you were saying about what Hegel says. Our emotions are very manipulative, but our emotions are easily manipulated by our environment.
yes. So this idea of the book is talking about how our typical view of freedom is free to do as you please, but what do we then do with the fact that what we please is so manipulatable, um
And we
and
know
manipulated?
this on an intuitive level too, even as a kid. Like, obviously, you're not going to ask your parents if you can go do something when they're in a good mood, not when they're in a bad mood.
Yes. Again, sliding Frasers. Martin makes that dumb joke. And in one universe, Frasier, grumpy, is like, Dad, will you shut up? And in the other universe where he's happy, he just got a date, chuckles and bats it back, you know?
Mm.
Um,
That's like yesterday we had a little tiff over, I forgot what it was. Oh, peacoats. And I wanted to tell you a story and I wanted you to be on my side with the story. So I knew I had to wait till later in the conversation after.
after Peacoat Gate had passed.
Yeah.
Wait, but how, okay, so, but it's like you can never, our emotions essentially are how we make decisions. Like a truly rational decision cannot really be made without, like, I don't know, it's just like I don't know if it's actually possible for us to get through life without desire, repulsion. Like these things move and shake us, you know?
Yeah, I mean, is it even a
Lust.
rational decision if you ignore your the emotions of it? It's
Yeah,
also like, what's the
that
point of,
rational.
yeah, what's the point of the life you build if it's not emotionally comfortable for you? If it's only rationally pleasing, appealing.
Yeah, and like rationally for to what end? You
That
know, like, all these things are very thorny. And this is why like sometimes I'm so turned off by philosophy, because I feel like I prefer the Eastern approach to philosophy, which is just meditate and focus on your breath and you'll just get it.
I mean, it's really hard to read a philosophical book and feel like it really checks all the boxes. It just seems it's like the economy versus uh fire in a house. It's like impossible to fully encapsulate the human experience through thought, through ideas.
Yeah. Also, I'm like, what is philosophy? It's just like someone writing down how they think the world is.
Yeah.
It's
Whatever
weird.
sparks their interest.
It's very weird. And they do it always in the most boring way possible.
Through axioms, through like, that's the most boring kind of philosophy, is the problem solving, the proof philosophy.
Yeah, the proof of God.
Ugh. Ontological proof of God. Hell to the no. Don't want to spend my time reading that. Do you what about a woman's intuition? A mother's intuition?
Oh yeah, mother's intuition, a woman's intuition. I mean, I think that mothers are good noticers. They see they know what's going on in the house.
So Matt, have you ever had witch vibes, like spooky intuition? Like, oh my God, I know that, like a dream of portend, or I can just tell that I'm going to find my grandmother's ring today, or, it's a lot of grandmother jewelry stuff, let's say.
Yeah. Well,
Now you are a man, unlike women.
women have a natural connection to
The other
intuition,
side.
the other side. I had a dream about a mutual friend of ours. And in that dream, I learned some stuff about his family.
Oh, right.
And it's some very specific things that turned out to be true.
Well, let's get, I don't think he would mind us saying it. You had a dream when you
Really?
were, no, Matt had
You say you're closer, obviously.
About, one of my nearest and dearest, when we were staying at his family's lake house, about his mother miscarrying a little girl. And in real life, she did miscarry a little girl. And
I think the timing was correct.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
In the dream, she said it was 6 years ago. Would that have been about right?
Oh, I don't remember that, but maybe she was 6 months along.
Okay.
Yeah, that was very spooky, and that house was very spooky.
That house was so spooky. The bedspread
if your
was the wallpaper.
Yeah, if your bedspread matches the wallpaper.
And it was like a Baroque red and black print on the bed and on the wallpaper with red light bulbs in the ceiling.
Yeah, it's like you're asking to be haunted in a house like that, right?
Yeah, try not to have an intuitive dream. Oh my goodness. I'm glad I didn't get abducted by aliens that night.
The thing is that I'm always looking for the intuitive answer. Even though I'm such a logical person, I'm like, if I can just get down to what is supposed to be, which is why I struggle so much with decision making, because I am a Libra also, and because I am logical, but ultimately at the same time, I was like raised in the spiritual sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's a terrible limbo to be in.
Well, another thing from Hegel is he makes quite a big deal about the fact that the Greeks were great. The Greeks had all this wonderful philosophy and they started thinking about freedom, but they were still a little bit too primitive in that they consulted oracles for things.
Okay.
And part of what the oracle would do would be to cut open an animal and as a sacrifice and then examine its organs for signs and portents.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that sounds like as good a way as any to get information.
Like,
I guess
it's like a palm reading, right?
Yeah, like I guess and like this is part of being like a postmodern human. Like if the pre-modern person believes that there are signs in the organs and the modern person believes that there are not signs in the organs and that that's just superstition, the postmodern person thinks, why not? If there are, if you want there to be. And I think,
Can you say more about that? Like, you think we're having a intuitive renaissance, a spiritual renaissance, in the sense of like the other side of the veil can be almost true.
I see it a lot, obviously, in Jewish terms. So like, you had like in the Middle Ages, you had the birth of Jewish mysticism, very esoteric, very magical, the sort of farthest reaches of it, sort of touching alchemy and things like that, spells, that was all part of the mystical movement.
Yeah.
Then you had this move in the modern era towards rationalism and people being like, no, we're going to cut all of this silly, mystical, alchemical stuff, mystical, Kabbalistic, whatever, out of Judaism. Because we don't believe that. That's not how the universe works. We're scientific, good people. We're going to keep the ethical monotheism and we're going to like drop the rest. And I think that in my generation of Jews, you have people who are like hungry to touch that Kabbalistic magical stuff again.
Yeah, absolutely. And
we believe in it, but not literally. And I think that ability to both believe and not believe in stuff like that is of a postmodern mind.
And why do we believe in it? Because it's an experience that can't be denied.
I think first of all, I think we kind of believe that any system of belief is an approximation. We go into the world with that attitude.
Yeah.
So then we're like, okay, what does astrology bring to the table in this conversation that I want to have right now about my life?
Mm-hmm.
And we're not necessarily signing on to the belief that like Jupiter is going to bring me wealth in this like very like literal way. We don't feel the need to go all in on a belief. We're like, all beliefs have their truths and their not truths. And I think we have a situational way of thinking about these things. What's that going to bring to the table in this discussion? What language is it going to give me for discussing something slippery?
Yeah.
What's it going to make me feel?
Yeah.
Is there some sort of truth that's hiding within it?
Well, yeah, I think that people like you and I who are postmodern,
and we all are,
we're postmodern dancers. But there are some people who are very attached to only the rational mind. Like that's their mindset of being is rational. And there are some people who are only empirical or only spiritual. But a person like myself, I guess I can only speak for myself, of wanting to find a blend of both. It's just having the need for spiritual experience and sort of to account for things beyond a logical sense is something that resonates with me and seems to have resonated with thousands of years of people. And also understands, I think the way that I logicalize it, rationalize it, is by saying that the human mind has limits in its understanding. And so the experience in and of itself doesn't need to be understood by the human mind.
Yeah. And I think that these like mystical things, and it's like, what, so you believe in angels and demons? It's like, no, that's not quite accurate. But what I'm talking about when I talk about this stuff is that I think that there's this other realm that is not graspable by the rational mind, as you said. And these these other languages of angels, demons, stars, and stones are are actually more fitting for hinting at that realm.
Yes.
And like, yeah, like I don't believe that we can get to like then when people try to really apply the rational mind to the irrational, that's when I get really turned off. When people are like, oh yeah, this crystal will help with your gingivitis. I'm like, no, like I'm into the idea that like a crystal is like this really cool mathematical manifestation of matter that like, you know, stirs the imagination
What
and
about
seems right at the crossroads of spirit and matter.
what
But let's
about
not get too hard about it.
what about a crystal to heal a psychic problem like your heart chakra being blocked?
I'll give it a try.
You'll give it a try.
I'll
Ditto.
definitely give it a try.
Absolutely, I will. I'm like, there was that year that I was feeling really ungrounded, and so I started carrying smoky quartz in my pocket,
Yeah, but
and it worked.
I
Just
do
kidding.
think that it's more about how I don't know. I guess humans like we like crystals for some reason.
Yeah, and we needn't rationalize it,
We need him rationalize
but
it.
we do
What's
need
his
to use
name?
fluoride in our toothpastes.
What's that guy's name? A New Earth?
Eckhart Tolle.
Eckhart Tolle. He loves crystals and flowers. He thinks that they're teachers.
Mm,
He's not claiming they do anything magical. He's just saying that there's something about the way they look and feel and are that speaks to the human spirit.
yeah, I
And
mean,
he's clearly right.
does it need to be even more than that? Why does it need to be more than that?
Why does it need to be more than that?
I watched a question about him. Someone asked, is it my ego or my intuition that wants to write a book?
Oh,
And
what did he have to say?
the answer wasn't particularly satisfying to me, just like no spiritual teacher can ever help me seem to understand what the difference between intuition and ego or slash anxiety is. It's the ultimate crossroads of my life.
Ugh, mine too, in some ways, when I really think about it.
He said to ask yourself, would it be really cool to write a book? Or is there something that you absolutely have to say and get out in the world? But that just wasn't enough for me.
Yeah, I guess, so just jumping back, the OCD, an obsessive compulsive thought is right there, which, we both deal with that thinking behavior, that
Yeah.
type of thought. It's right there at the crossroads of this very question. Am I having an intuition that the house is burning? And that because I left the stove on?
Right.
Is the fact that the image came into my mind meaningful?
Right.
Or is it just an image that came into my mind? And the wisdom that anyone who has healed from OCD will tell you is that it's just an image that came into your mind.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to hold those two beliefs at once, that intuition exists and that your thoughts are not to be believed.
Yeah, your thoughts are just thoughts.
And it's like, how can both? And I want to believe in intuition really badly. So I'm constantly trying to reconcile the two.
Yeah,
What would our therapist, Rafi Kalman, our OCD therapist, say about intuition?
Oh no, should we get him on the line?
He would be like, I don't know. Does it? I think he would say, who cares? Does it serve us?
Yeah, he would. That's definitely what he would say. He's always saying cute stuff like that. Doesn't serve, maybe, whatever.
Sometimes I feel like I have health intuition, like when I had this ear infection. And I was like trying to explain to my doctors that this was the ultimate ear infection. And they're like, it'll go away in a day. And then it lasted for a year.
Well,
I
there's
knew the second the water got into my ear, I knew that this would be a problem for a lifetime, basically.
there's the it was my understanding type of intuition in The Office. Michael Scott says it was my understanding that I would not be punished for this. And his boss is like, "What? Why did you think that?" He goes, "It was my understanding." And sometimes we just have an understanding, and sometimes those understandings were correct. One that I like to brag about is it was always my understanding that you could not get COVID from a bag of chips. I was never I was never washing my groceries. I was always quite sure that that was not
just the way it would play out.
Just didn't feel right to me. Didn't make sense.
But at the same time, there are people who are like, it is my understanding that wearing a mask will give you carbon dioxide poisoning.
Yeah.
You know?
Their understanding was wrong. Mine was right. And I had other understandings, of course, that were wrong as well. You know.
But we
many COVID understandings. Many COVID understandings were wrong and many were right. And part of that had to do with the fact that we had a lot of thoughts about it. So some were right and some were wrong.
You know what I was thinking about?
Tell me.
I'm going to tell you.
Tell me.
Sure. Right now, Matt's reading Persuasion, and how that's a book with a theme of intuition without it explicitly saying it, I guess.
Yes.
And a sliding doors book. So the book opens with the main character, and several years after she turned down someone she loves proposal because he was not a man of status or means.
Well, yeah, because people told her not to marry him because she was going to marry him anyways, regardless of his lack of status and means.
Mm-hmm. And then it's about like her. He comes back, he is a man of status and means, and her grappling with that decision. And even I think the reader is left to be like, well, he left, she turned him down or ended the engagement, and then he became a man of status and means. So was that the right decision for her to not follow her intuition? Because then he comes back jaunty and wealthy.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting the dimension of status and means in this story. That's certainly one way to think about this book. She dumped him because he didn't have that, and there was pressure on her to do so. And he came back with all those things. And look, she made the wrong choice by listening to those people. But maybe she made the wrong choice anyways, because she loved him.
Mm-hmm.
And she was happy, and there was no other happiness waiting for her. That was the man she chose. Right. And there was no one else for her. And she gets what I consider to be an absurd amount of proposals in the course of her life, detailed in the book.
Yeah, but I feel like even in that book, as with Mansfield Park, there are these men who offer themselves, but these main character women they seem perhaps like they're good marriage proposals with good men, but their intuition comes into play, and it turns out that that these men were not quite, they had, fallible characters.
Yeah. I mean, and Pride and Prejudice also is a classic book about not trusting your intuition.
Yeah, it's the opposite, actually. It's opposite.
Yeah, your intuition. I mean, it wasn't even intuition. She just had bad info.
Yeah, just bad first impressions, actually.
Yeah, I don't really know that book so well at this point. I've forgotten it. So like all I know really is Bridget Jones.
Okay.
But I doubt that she believed Mr. Darcy had slept with his friend's wife. That wasn't it.
But this is the thing with Persuasion. It's like, I think it's the most opaque when it comes to the author's intentions for what the readers to think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's complicated. It's complex.
It's very complex.
And there's a general air of uncertainty about the future in that book. Was it like, where was it in her career?
Her last book. I think it was published posthumously.
Oh, I was just gonna intuitively say, was it her last book? There's something like
it's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like older woman written by an older woman.
It's written by an older woman, and like, yeah, so Anne sees this old friend of hers from high school who's now like an invalid in Bath and has lost her fortune. There's all throughout the book, there's uncertainty about the future, and there's people whose prospects look bright who are brought low, and people whose prospects are low who are brought high, which it might be to say that like your intuitions about where people will end up are innately infallible. I mean, innately fallible.
Right.
And, you know, her silly, superficial father, who's always poring over that family book because he's so anxious about how's the story going to end?
Oh, right.
Will I rise or will I fall? That's what we say on Rosh Hashanah. We say, who will rise this year and who will fall?
And you know what? Everyone has to fall somewhere on that wheel of fortune, right?
Yeah.
You can't live your whole life rising to the top.
No. No, you cannot. A time to live, a time to die, a time to be born,
a time to fly.
Time to die. Ecclesiastes read during the holiday of Sukkot, which is now.
Oh. So I guess obviously I believe in intuition on like that psychic level too, because I consult psychics.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were talking about that ayahuasca story and had the fear I have of a spirit guide telling me something definitely indicates that I believe in spirit guides who have a deeper knowledge of my past, future, and present.
They know something, but as one of my teachers once told me, spirits can have their own baggage.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely seen psychics who say, oh, your dead grandmother says she doesn't like what you're wearing. You should wear more blue, but you don't have to take her advice. Even ghosts have egos.
Yeah, this is not the Godhead on the line. Okay? It's just some lady.
You know, God never wants to come and tell you directly what they think.
Yeah. Ghosts have ego. I mean, we'll get into that during our ghost episode, which is
the next one.
Right around the corner in time for spooky season.
Okay, so yeah, I think I'll be continuing on my journey of trying to suss out a thought versus an anxious thought versus an intuition. But I will continue flying on airplanes. And if I die on one, we'll know my intuition was right.
Yes.
And if I don't, we'll know it was anxiety.
My how to be on this is listen to your intuition as a source of knowledge about how you feel about things, not as a psychic channel into what will happen or not.
See, I'm kind of like hone those psychic skills. Mallory Psychic says ground yourself more if you want to hone your psychic skills. But also do exposure response therapy to overcome your OCD.
Yeah. Can you do both of those things?
All right, Matt. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. God bless. God bless you.